everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled Board of Trustees meeting for May 11th, 2022. I'm Lyle Oxecker, Chair. Call the meeting to order, and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
And I second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. And that motion is carried. Next is the consent agenda. I need to bring one item on the consent agenda to your attention. The item for recommendations for renewal of probationary faculty. There was one typo error only, nothing of any consequence or substantive. So just to bring that to your attention. So with that, I would ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And I understand from Zach that there is no one here for public comment. Thank you very much. Next is presentations from guests and representatives to the board. Excellence at Ames. Shannon McCaslin, would you please step to the podium? Thank you very, very much.
Good afternoon, board. This is pretty exciting. Today, I have the privilege of introducing you to not one, but two, because you needed to hear from them both. Both students have been all in at Ames. The first of which, though, we're going to talk to and about is Zared Rodriguez. On Friday, she joins an elite group of Union Colony High School students to concurrently earn her Associate of Arts and her high school diploma from Union Colony. In fact, I think she has a bit of a fan club here. Her parents are here to cheer her on. Zared has been very all in at both Ames and at Union Colony. She has been all for both institutions. In fact, just last month, I got to watch a video of her. She was invited to speak at the District 6 school board meeting, where she sang. She was asked to sing the praises of Union Colony, and she did. But she sang a lot of praises about this place, which I'm sure she wasn't asked to do, but she did. And she spoke of the opportunities she's been granted through being both currently enrolled in college while in high school. Zared, you can see in the pictures, loves singing, acting, and dancing. Her life goal is to get a title role on Broadway. And she's moving toward it, friends. That's what I want you to hear from her. In fact, she recently traveled to New York City and did something really neat. But I'm going to stop there and let you hear from Zared Rodriguez.
Hello, my name is Zared Rodriguez and I am 17 years old. I'm a student here at Ames and a student at Union Colony Preparatory School. Once I graduate from Ames Community College, I will be a student at Metropolitan State in Denver, Colorado, where I will be majoring in theater and getting my Bachelor's of Fine Arts. This January, I recently had the opportunity to audition for Juilliard in New York City. Unfortunately, I did not get into the school. However, it was still an absolute honor to audition. After auditioning for Juilliard, I decided to try my hand at auditioning for New York University. I was also unfortunately not accepted into the theater program there. However, I was still glad to have auditioned to two of the top 3 theater schools in the nation. As I said, I'm a concurrent student and I've been taking classes here since I was 14 years old. Being 14 years old when I started was very helpful in allowing me to hopefully reach my goal. And my goal being to graduate with my high school diploma and my associate's degree at the same time. In my time here, I have been able to make connections with incredible people, those being all of my coworkers and bosses from the sales department. This year, I worked as a campus activities programmer, and I had the opportunity to make connections with many students, as well as see students come together. One of the events that I planned was the Give Thanks with Pie and Cider event in November. I went out and I bought mini pies to hand out, and I handed out cups of cider. I also had a foam board with sticky notes in which people could write what they were thankful for. I mainly focused on the buildings in which students are there late so that I could get those students a small snack. On the first day of the event, I set up my table in the Allied Health Center, and I ran out of pies very quickly. I had students coming from all over the campus to get a pie and simply sit and chat with one another. Another event highlight is the first Ames Prom that took place on April 15th in the Student Commons. I had nearly 200 students go and dance and talk and have fun. The theme was Night at the Oscars, and everyone looked as though they were absolutely meant for the red carpet. We even had families feel comfortable enough to bring their children. As a preliminary to the dance, I had dress donations. People could bring their lightly used dress clothes, and others could come and choose from the selection before prom. We had a student photographer and student DJs. Upstairs, we also had selfie stations. I saw students making new friends and dancing and talking to each other. People who would not come in together would spend the night chatting away and dancing in groups with each other. I had many people tell me that they hoped it was the first annual Ames Prom. Of course, that event would not have been possible without the help of Stephanie Thompson, and as she was my right hand during this event and helped me to plan the incredible Ames Prom. In addition to being a campus activities programmer, I have participated in many clubs at my high school. For all 4 years of high school, I have participated in the student council. Last year, I was the council vice president, and this year I am student council president. In addition to being in charge of my school's council, I have participated in the school district's council of student representatives. Last year, I participated as simply a student representative. However, this year I became the president of the school district council of student representatives. As being a part of that, I had the opportunity to speak in front of the district school board of education. Along with being the president of both of those clubs, I also have the honor of being the choir president at my high school. Along with being the president of all these activities, I had the opportunity to be in my school's musical. We put on the performance of Matilda Jr., in which I was cast as Miss Honey. I would like to end by giving a very special thanks to my parents, Asanet Rodriguez and Efren Rodriguez, as they've supported me in all of my endeavors. And I would also like to thank Janet Chase for giving me many opportunities since I have started at Ames. In being a concurrent student, I've had the opportunity to get to know the best of both worlds. These worlds gave me so many opportunities to grow as a person, and it is an honor to be here speaking in front of all of you today. Thank you very much.
Right, this is fun. Next up, another all-in student you're going to enjoy hearing from. Dustin Mock is a senior at Colorado Early College in Fort Collins. And I tell you that because it's interesting. He's taken classes from both Front Range and Ames. Last night, he graduated from Front Range with an Associate of Science degree. Friday, he graduates with certificates in some of the things you saw the aviation folks talk about. So UAS, instrument, private pilot. He's going to get those certificates. Can't even talk on Friday. And then on the weekend, he's going to graduate from early college high school. So as you can see on the photos, he's been involved in high school sports while taking all of these classes and serving on the campus activities programming team at the Windsor campus. He received the Airline Owners and Pilots Association You Can Fly Scholarship and has been a very active member in Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society and the National Society for Leadership and Success. And as if that didn't keep him busy enough, he worked throughout the past year to apply to both the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs and the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. He tells me he may study Mandarin at his next stop. And last month, he received a call from Congressman Joe Neguse with news of his status at the Academy. So I'll let him tell you what he chose and what he was told. I'll let him share all of that. He's another one who's all in for Ames. He went to Front Range, but he's all in for here when you hear him. Okay, all right, here comes Dustin.
All right, hello, Ames trustees and everybody else who's attending this meeting has all their eyes on me. As Shannon mentioned, I'm a concurrent enrollment student, so I go to Colorado Early College, Fort Collins, and I graduate 3 times this week, which is crazy. I'm the aviation program here at Ames, so I'm out there flying not that type of aircraft, but that's the one they let me have to take photos with. So that's the pictures you guys get. This weekend, I'm graduating with my high school diploma as valedictorian of my class, which is, thank you. And I'm sure you guys want to hear about all the cool stuff I'm doing here at Ames. So I, last summer, got my UAS operator certificate, which is a Part 107 commercial drone license to fly drones around. I also got one FAA certification, which is the private pilot's license. It's basically a driver's license, but for planes. And right now I'm working on my instrument rating, which is basically your driver's license, but to drive in really heavy fog. As Shannon mentioned as well, I'm the director of campus activities at the Windsor Satellite Campus. So I've hosted several events for our campus activities program here at Ames. And next month, I leave here, Fort Collins, to go to the Colorado Springs, and I am attending the United States Air Force Academy starting this fall. So today I wanted to share a little bit about why I chose to come here to Ames and how Ames has really helped me along with my goals. So for a long time, probably about 5 or 6 years, I've had a goal that I want to go to space someday. And I'm like, I want to be an astronaut and I want to fly a really, really fast, rocket ship. Like, how do I do that? And so I was looking at the qualifications for becoming an astronaut. And I'm like, a lot of these guys are pilots. And so how do I become a really good military pilot? And so I'm looking at the Air Force Academy. And I'm like, hey, I want to try to go for the Air Force Academy. And so, again, following, keep going back. And I'm like, okay, how do I best prepare myself for the Air Force Academy? And something I thought to do was to get my private pilot's license. So I started looking around in the area and I saw that Ames had a really good aviation program. And so I applied. It was quite the process, actually, to get into the aviation program over here. I had several meetings with Alex Wernsman, who's over there at the aviation program, and talked about my future goals and how Ames could help me get into them. So I ended up applying. I got in. I started in January of last year. I ended up getting my private pilot's license done in September last year, and it was just incredible experience. Learning how to fly, getting to go up in a little small aircraft, and that whole process is just awesome. Last summer, I ended up working on my UAS Basic Operator Certificate, as I mentioned, which is just an incredible class here at Ames. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to fly. I flew 10 or 12 different types of drones. One of them was a really expensive drone, upwards of $10,000 for that piece of machinery. And I didn't have to pay for it because you guys did. So additionally, here at Ames, through the campus activities program, I got to go to several professional development conferences. So we went down to one in Denver for the Coalition of Alcohol and Drug Educators. And we also went to Baltimore for another NASPA conference. And by themselves, the contents of those conferences was enough to be satisfied with, just learning and getting to talk to people. But in addition, the professional development, the networking, the team building, all of those things just added, doubled or tripled the value of those conferences. So I'm eternally grateful that I got to go do those things, because I wouldn't have any even similar opportunity without Ames to help me along with that. The final thing is a little bit less tangible, and that's just having a wealth of experience and wisdom to draw upon being here at Ames. So because of the way the program is set up, the Ames flight program, the Ames aviation program, actually has a lot of veterans, a really high veteran population. So I've had countless conversations with different people at the flight center. Every time I go over there, I have an opportunity to talk to a veteran who, one of the guys in my class, he was on a U.S. Navy nuclear submarine for 5 years. Like, where else would I get that experience as a high schooler? So it was just incredible getting to talk to those guys, get their opinions about things, and discuss opportunities. And really, I don't want to have to make all the decisions on my own. I'd rather appeal to guys who have been through it, guys who have been in and out of everything and draw on that wealth of experience. So it's just been invaluable in my decision-making, again, to draw on all those sources of experience. So I even had one of my flight instructors, my flight instructor last spring, who's actually an Ames alum. He wrote one of my letters of recommendation for the Air Force Academy. So obviously that one must have worked. But I also had Eric Himmler, who's the director of aviation here at Ames, who some of you guys saw this morning. He was on the U.S. Navy flight demonstration team, the Blue Angels. He flew one of the big C-130 jets. He wrote a letter of recommendation for the U.S. Naval Academy, and the Naval Academy actually offered me an appointment before the Air Force Academy did. So that goes to show you how important that letter was. But overall, Ames has provided me a lot, and I'm just going to be eternally grateful for the guidance, for the experience, for the wisdom, for the opportunities I've been given here at Ames. But out of respect for your time, I could go on and tell you about individual instructors, my physics instructor who was a solar scientist, my current flight instructor who's an air traffic controller down at Denver Center. I could just go on and on about these amazing, unique experiences I've had here at Ames. But just for now, I just want to thank the board, the administration, staff, faculty, everybody who's in attendance today, everybody who supports Ames, everybody who makes stories like mine possible. Thank you.
I see what you mean. It's just incredible to have you here. We sincerely appreciate this. This is my favorite part of the meeting, and I think it is for all of us. But your being here validates what we're all here for. To see young people maximize their potential and do their very best. And we're here to help, and you guys do the work, and we're extremely proud of you. And we can certainly wish both of you all the best as you proceed in whatever endeavors. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your stories with us. And we wish you all the very best. Thank you. And I have a little gift for each of you. Okay. Thank you again. Wish you all the best. All right.
Thank you.
Was that fun? That was awesome. Again, congratulations. All the best to you. Okay, next. Microphone on. Thank you, boss. Representatives to the board. First of all, Student Government Association, Andrew Canetta. There's Andrew.
Dustin, you're a lot taller than me. I have to follow you two up. That's comforting. But I'm proud to call you my friend, so it's okay. It balances out. Hello and good afternoon, Board of Trustee members, Chair Oxiger, Dr. B. It's wonderful to be here today, but it's with a heavy heart that I address that this is my last presentation to the board. I'll be moving out of Sale next year, but I will be succeeded by the amazing Danielle Irwin, who is right behind you over there. Round of applause for Danielle. I've worked with Danielle a lot. She's been the campus activities programmer for the Fort Lupton campus. She did Wayne Hoffman, the open mic night down there, and she's a spectacular human being. I'm sure you're going to love her next year. In fact, many of this year's student leaders, including myself, will not be returning next year. So I want to spend some of my time today introducing a few of the new student leaders to you all. Our incoming SGA team members for the 2022 to 2023 year are Danielle Irwin, the SGA president, Ain Blankert, SGA VP of Facilities and Operations, Daniel Blackwell, the SGA VP of Academic Affairs, Madeline Parks, SGA EVP of Finance. Jared Polito, the SGA VP of Public Relations, and Stephanie Thompson, the SGA VP of Student Engagement, Inclusion, and Success. Our incoming campus activities programming team members for the 2022 to 2023 year are Phoebe Jonas for CAP Fort Lupton, Rosemary Mina, CAP Mental Health, Jacqueline Gonzalez, CAP Windsor Campus, Elijah Strauss, CAP Wellness, Angela May Pasco, CAP Loveland and Virtual, Devery Boston, CAP Family and Evening Students, and then Hannah Vanderloo, the CAP Sexual Health and Safety and Violence Prevention. I've had the chance to meet with many of these students. Some of them have been my coworkers this year, and I'm positive that you'll all be just ecstatic to work with them. They're fantastic people. We had a meet and greet a few Fridays ago, and I'm excited to see what they do at Ames. Many of us students are in a season of change right now. Graduating, leaving Ames as alumni. I mean, Dustin's graduating from 3 places, but you're Ames's. We'll all be going new ways in life. And it's been a crazy and busy, exciting year for all of us. The return of in-person activities exponentially increased all of the things that the student leaders had to do. And it's been a go, go, go list, but it's been fun and I wouldn't change it. I've loved every minute of it. It's been a year of firsts too. We had the first Ames Prom. Thank you, Sared and Steph Thompson and everybody who helped bring that together. That was amazing. It was amazing. We had the first student run show, Student Gov Live by Steph Thompson, which was fantastic. If you haven't seen those episodes, go watch them. They're excellent. We had Wayne Hoffman, Josh Blue, and countless other fantastic events. So I want to give special recognition and a special round of applause to all of the amazing work that the student leaders have done this year. Thank you, student leaders. Now, I know how much you enjoy hearing student stories. It seemed fitting that as a farewell, I tell you some of mine. It's May already, and all that's left is graduation. It's a bittersweet thing because I get to graduate, but also I have to graduate, and then I'm going. It marks the end of my time as a student leader here at Ames. I started at Ames 2 years ago, and it's funny because I thought it might be a good idea to earn some college credits in high school. And that was as far as my thought process went. I was like, yeah, I could take some math classes. I wasn't trying to be involved. I didn't know about events on campus or sale or any of those things. Somehow, by the hand of God and also Janet Chase pursuing me for several months, convincing me to apply for sale, I ended up being a student leader. And that's the exact opposite of my initial intentions. But I'm so thankful for Janet because you saw something in me that I didn't, and it's changed everything for me. So thank you. I still vividly remember the first day of training. All of the student leaders were strangers. We didn't know each other. It's been a year now, and I've formed the best relationships anyone could ask for. The people I work with are more than just my friends and my coworkers. They're my family. I've changed personally too. Being a part of Ames, I've learned to socialize despite my introverted tendencies. I've developed professionally and academically, especially at the NASPA conference. That was excellent. I've learned to open up to others. I've learned how to communicate, speak in public, be brave, try new things. Most importantly, I learned how to be myself. Myself. That's something I've been looking for a long time. Ames helped me find it. You see, I was the type of kid who would change who he was to blend in with the environment around him. The reason I did this was because everywhere I went, I felt hated, disliked, or excluded. Maybe it was my personality, my ethnicity, my faith. Whatever the reason, I was hated for it. So I changed myself to blend in with the people around me. That way I could be safe. That way I wouldn't be hated. I could be accepted. Accepted for a facade I put on to protect myself. But that was a lie I believed for far too long. A lie that Ames helped me recognize and leave behind. The extreme, absolute, polar opposite of hate and exclusion is what I've felt and experienced here at Ames. I haven't once needed to blend in or change who I was here. I'm accepted and loved for who I am. I don't need a mask or a facade. I can be myself and know that I'm safe. I've had peace and comfort at Ames, peace with others and comfort in knowing that I can be myself. It's scary because soon I'll be off to other things, different places and new experiences, places that might once again hate me and exclude me and try to get me to change. But I won't ever bend to them again because I will always remember the impact that Ames has had on my life. I won't forget the memories. I won't forget the relationships and the friends. Every month now for around half a year, I've come and talked to you all about student-led events. But looking back, I can see that there's been something more than just the events going on inside of me. I picture a timeline, a constellation of different events, pictures like photos flashing in my mind of the successes and the failures, the highs and the lows, all of the struggles. And I can see with clarity and proclaim with confidence that I've improved and that I'm better than who I was. I'm stronger, I'm smarter, I'm more complete. Most importantly, I've learned that life is not about what you can achieve, but who you can become. It's not about trophies on a shelf or pats on a back or admiration or success. It's about identity. It's about character. It's about humility, kindness, bravery, compassion, love. I felt loved at Ames for the first time in as long as I can remember. And that is something I will hold on to for the rest of my life. It's been of the utmost honor and privilege to serve with you all. Thank you for who Ames is. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very proud. Very best luck. Wow. Andrew, thank you. Thank you for all that you have been for us here at Ames Community College in your tenure as a student leader. Thank you for your humor. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your courage in getting up here and talking to us and sharing your stories. Thank you, especially for your stories today. Thank you for sharing yourself with us. I'm humbled. I really am. So I don't know what else to say. I think you defined Ames for us all today. I don't think anybody could define Ames any better than what you did today. So thank you for that. And as you go forward, we wish you all the very best. We know you'll be incredibly successful wherever you go and whatever you do. So we'll be thinking of you. We'll keep you in our minds and in our hearts and wish you all the best. Thank you, sir. Next is Ames Faculty Association, Mr. Mark Moody. Welcome, Mark.
All right, good afternoon, Dr. Bornstein, Chair Oshinger, Board of Trustees. We have a couple of accomplishments from faculty. I'll start the first one in your packet there. Professor Morrison, she attended the International Writing Center basically to help improve the Writing Center faculty coordinator. She is there. She wants to make sure that she actually does the position really well and continue to do it. And then her and also Professor Friesian are co-sponsors of the Ames Community College English Honor Society, and actually went to Atlanta just a couple months ago with a couple of students, as you see there. So that was really great representing our college. And then Professor Ellis, she attended the American Mathematical Association of two-year colleges. and presented creating meaningful connections using discussion boards at all levels, which is important because again, that's become a big thing, especially with remote learning and online learning. And then Professor Heinz Nelson and Ms. Spencer actually attended the American Association of Colleges and Universities and actually presented about making excellence the new normal in San Diego. Basically, it was looking at reimagining, bridging visual thinking strategies to transdisciplinary inquiry. So basically, get more disciplines to collaborate. And Dr. Booker, during the Voices for the Holocaust week, just a couple of weeks ago, to have people understand the horrors that happened there, presenting Nazi civil religion during the Third Reich, the link between secular religiosity and violence in Hitler's Germany. What it was basically saying how basically the horrors that happened there was almost like a cult, a religious cult, and that's why it occurred there. So I've actually read a little bit of myself and wish I could have attended that. And then for community involvement, we have Professor Weedman and Professor Kimmel Wing to actually participate in the first annual Career Fair at Roosevelt High School to basically get students more interested in Ames. And then Professor Noble actually volunteers at the Hearts and Horses every Saturday morning. Basically spends hours on therapeutic horses, helps people with special needs to ride horses. So she donates her time during that aspect there. And then if you look there at the second page of rewards, again, Dr. Booker and Professor Ikinawa are the sponsors of the Phi Theta Kappa National Honor Society. You heard some of our students are in that. Ames Community College achieved a 5-star rating within our region. So excellent, excellent job. Shows again that we are students first. See there you have the ripples. I'm not going to read through them, but I'll just say that Professor Osborne, she really helps with students, particularly a student here had some extenuating circumstances. So again, shows we're willing to support students. Professor Artini, again, explains how it's impactful to have a good professor. So that way, you know, you can achieve your goals while you're here at Ames. And then Professor Miller explained, a student explains how he was great at teaching in different formats, particularly through the remote learning and also in the face-to-face settings. So excellent job with Professor Miller. And something not in the packet, this is my last time presenting to the board. It has been a very humbling and a privileged experience to do that. I am going to be chair of the curriculum committee here at Ames now because Professor Stapleton has decided to step down. But I do want to introduce Professor Weingardner. She is Professor of Communication and Speech. Sorry about that, ma'am. Weingard. And she will be the new presenter and she will do an amazing job. So. And I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Well, thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Any questions for Mark?
I don't have any questions. I would just like to say thank you for the last.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You've done a great job. I appreciate it.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Anyone else? Well, Mark, I'd like to say thank you as well. You've done an awesome job. You're always a wealth of information. It's always good to see you and hear what you have to offer. And I wish you all the very, very best in your future endeavor.
All right.
Look forward to seeing more of you.
Yep. Also be around campus. It's been a role of the curriculum chair. I'm excited to do that. So
Super.
all right. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody.
Next is Ames Staff Association, Jen Seedorf. Welcome, Jen.
Good afternoon, Chair Oxiger, members of the board, Dr. B. It's wonderful to be here with you all. Oh my gosh, those student stories. So I'm an accountant. I don't regularly interact with students, so I always love hearing it. However, there's a reason that I'm an accountant, because I would be a giant ball of tears every year at graduation with these students. So kudos to you, Shannon, for being able to hold it together, because those students are amazing. So, it takes a village to help these students get through, and just congratulations to everyone on a wonderful year and semester, including staff, of course. So congratulations. So there's a few things happening this week. It's a little busy. So staff, I don't have any accomplishments to share with you today, but of course I'd love to highlight a ripple. You do have the report in your board packet. Today, I would like to highlight Ernesto Montalongo. He is the food services lead, and he was nominated by an anonymous student. This student says, I've nominated Ernesto because in past and present semesters, he had been kind, hardworking, and diligent. As a student, I've truly appreciated that he's taken the time to remember my name, as well as other students and coworkers' names. I've also noticed that even though he is always very busy, he goes the extra mile to make sure that our food is up to par and that we are having a good day. In a moment that was dark for me, he showed genuine compassion and directed me to someone at Ames who could help. It is without a doubt that he is a phenomenal worker. It motivates me to do better in my job and classes because I would like to achieve the same level of work ethics and pride that Ernesto has achieved. I loved reading this nomination and how Ernesto's work ethic and care for others has inspired this student to model the same behavior in their life. When I read this nomination, I immediately thought of a quote that I've seen that says, act as though no one is watching. And Ernesto has done just that. He has shown that we always have the opportunity to influence and inspire others through our daily actions. And finally, if I may, on a personal note, this also concludes my final staff report to you, as I will be stepping down from my role as Staff Association President at the end of June. I figured that leading staff in ASA for 3 years and through a pandemic was pretty sufficient professional development. And it was time to let someone else have a turn. It has been an absolute privilege and honor to stand before you each month, sharing the networking, community involvement, and accomplishments of our staff. And of course, my favorite piece, highlighting the accolades and gratitude that are given through so many ripples and recognition. Your support of and interest in the work that we do is so appreciated. And on behalf of the staff, I just want to thank you for the opportunity in your meetings to illustrate how staff continuously embodies Ames' purpose and values. Thank you very much.
Any questions or comments of Jen?
I just want to say it's been wonderful seeing you every month, whether it was on Zoom or in person, and you always put together a very positive report.
Thank you.
And I think many people don't realize the staff is what kind of holds everything together. So I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you very much.
Art?
Yeah, Jen, I'd add on to that, you know, the adhesive that the staff does for between faculty and all the rub. You guys get all the rub. And I think that's wonderful that you've done such a great job for us. All the staff has done a great job for us. I have to be thankful for everyone and faculty as well, and the students. I mean, it's a three-legged stool.
Absolutely.
If we didn't have those 3 legs, we would be all teeter-tottered. But no, thank you for what you've done, and let us know what we can do more always.
I will. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? Jan, I wanted to just say thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing from you every month and getting to know you better. We appreciated your sense of humor, the way you present information. I think you've done an awesome job, and you had an awesome job. You get to read all these fun things and all the great things that people do, and you presented them to us in a manner that we really appreciate. So thank you very, very much, and the best of luck to you in the future.
Thank you very
again.
much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Please take care.
You too.
Next on the agenda is item 7, action items. First action item, fiscal year 2022 to 23 faculty consultation agreement. I'm using my microphone. Chuck Jensen, Vice President of Administrative Services.
Boy, tough acts to follow.
Oh, isn't it?
It goes without saying, doesn't it? Yes, asked Leslie Morrison. She's an associate professor of speech and English here at the college to join me in representing the faculty side of faculty consultation. And before you have action item 7A, which is the yearly faculty consultation memo. Just a brief history, explanation of what faculty consultation is. It is a board authorized process where administration and faculty consult on working conditions. And it's a group of myself, Dr. Rothamer, 2 deans, and then 4 faculty members that are chosen by AFA to get together on a regular basis throughout the academic year to talk about working conditions and work through issues that faculty are facing on the campus, and to keep administration and keep communications open, really, what it is. So before get into the actual memo itself, a lot of this was presented at the staff and comp presentation by D. Schultz regarding the salary increase of 4% and then the continuation of the benefits for all staff and faculty. Also contained in the memo is the number of working days for our faculty, and then the return dates and start dates for the fall semester or the next academic year. The other part of the memo that's very exciting is that we worked to collaboratively to change the education and work experience increment. We adjusted that to 1,043. That had been at 750 since the inception of that policy. So I think 12 years. And really what that is the recruitment component when faculty are hired of assessing education and experience. So we were addressing the problem of faculty recruitment. And this is one solution that we arrived at collaboratively of looking at that rate and raising it. And again, that was part of the compensation presentation and the costs that were contained in that presentation during work compensation presentation. Also, the other notable part of the memo is that we are beginning an in-depth market study of faculty compensation. You've heard over the last several years, we've done that quite in-depth for staff. And now we're embarking upon that one for faculty. So that'll really aid in our understanding of the world that we're recruiting in and the faculty that we're trying to retain and recruit. And so again, another very exciting part of the work that faculty consultation accomplished this year. So with those highlights, I'm going to turn it over to Leslie for comments from the faculty side of the team.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. So as Chuck said, I'm Leslie Morrison in the English department, and this was my first year on faculty consultation. It was an incredibly exciting time to join as we extended some of the work of previous teams, and then, as you heard, embarked on some new priorities and new initiatives. So as Chuck referenced, as you can see from the action item before you, we really looked at faculty, full-time faculty compensation from a lot of different angles. And we really feel like this gives us, a lot of opportunities to attract and retain talent. And of course, that's very important for faculty, but of course for students in the institution. So I'll keep my comments brief, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And I wanted to recognize the leadership of our chairs, Chuck Jensen and then Jeff Klein on the faculty side, who couldn't be here today, who really did a great job of facilitating these conversations, especially as we tried some new directions. So in closing, on behalf of the faculty consultation team and full-time faculty generally, I just want to thank you for your consideration of these action items. They do support the retention and recruitment of full-time faculty, and they have a measurable impact on the lives of full-time faculty here at Ames. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Leslie. Chuck, are you still up?
No, just based on commentary, the administrative recommendation to the board is do pass the memo. We'll stand for questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions of Chuck or Leslie? None?
I'm just glad to see an ongoing continuation of communication. That's always a great asset. And that transparency is always evident in the outcomes.
Okay, Heidi?
A quick question. Contract days will be 166. What are they currently?
166.
Oh.
That was easy. Okay, any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 to 23 consultation agreement?
I would so move to approve consultation agreement. I believe.
I second it.
Okay, good enough.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, members.
Next, action item, fiscal year 2022 to 23 budget approval. Mr. Chuck Johnson.
The action items just keep getting more exciting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Dr. Bornstein, you have before you action item 7B. This is the approval of the fiscal year 22-23 budget. This was presented in work session last month. And as I've discussed with the board members this week, there's been no changes from what was presented at the work session. So there's no details that I need to go into to explain any revised estimates in revenue or expenditures. So they stand as presented at the work session. So again, this is the annual budget presentation. It's been 1 month since the work session, and that's the timeline that we use then to now bring this for your action. You have before you the overall budget of $153 million and change. And all the attachments that go along with that. And so the administrative recommendation, of course, is do pass, and I will stand for any questions that board members may have regarding next year's budget.
Any questions of Chuck? Are you nodding?
Yes.
Okay, Heidi.
Chuck, you answered my one question earlier on the general fund college budget. Special projects, one time only. Last year and then this year, is that for the Windsor? What is that for? The special projects, one time only?
Now, special projects, Mr. Chairman, Trustee Wendell, that encompasses a number of projects, and that has nothing to do with any of the construction projects.
Okay.
This is all the special projects for the upgrade of equipment in the classrooms, and also the work that we continue with the workday implementation of our administration system.
Okay, thank you.
That's kind of the ongoing maintenance, isn't it, pretty much?
Yeah, included in this too is our ongoing upgrade, continuing upgrade of our security system and IT, our continuing upgrade of our computer systems. It really is the ongoing maintenance of all those types of instructional equipment.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, do I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 to 23 budget?
I would so move.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just complimenting all the presentations that have been done overall. I'm really, really happy to see what you've given us and make us understand well, so these dollars hit the wall well. They always do. Very impressed.
Thank you.
Any other, Gene?
I would like to add my expression of appreciation for the excellent budgeting process that you take us through. There's a lot of lead time to ask questions, get more details and data. Good job.
Anyone else? I'd like to echo Gene's comments. I think the process you take us through, the information we get and the opportunities we get to ask questions and to make sure that we understand what this is all about is sincerely appreciated. You do a great job. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll ask the question. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion is carried. Congratulations, Chuck.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the action items is item D, the new Associate of Engineering Science degree.
I
Dr.
have one more action item.
Did I miss one?
See,
Oh, the important one.
this is the big one, yeah.
Yeah, let's get that
With
one.
this, without
Okay,
this, we don't
my
operate.
apologies. Fiscal year 2022 to 23 appropriations. Chuck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Dr. Bornstein, you have before you action item 7C. And this is, I always like to say this, according to Colorado Revised Statute 22-44-103, it is a requirement of the Board of Trustees to set the appropriation for the college. As a taxing authority, you're like the legislature down in Denver as they're wrapping up their work today. This is your act of appropriation. So as a board, as a taxing authority, you have appropriation setting authority. And so that is the requirement. These go hand in hand with approving the yearly budget, then approving the appropriations. And with that, again, the budget that has been presented, this is the appropriation that supports that. The administrative recommendation, of course, is do pass. And I stand for questions. And before I stop talking, I do want to shout, I thank you for the compliments of the budget process, but I support from my team and the college as a whole makes that possible. So again, a shout out to the fiscal team, to the departments that put a lot of work into putting our budgets together for your presentation. So thank you. So I'll stand for questions on the appropriations action item.
Thank you, Chuck. Any questions of Chuck on the appropriation? Okay, hearing none. Do we have a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 to 23 appropriation?
I move to approve the appropriation recommendation.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mark, go ahead.
Thanks again for explaining this process right here. Makes us feel important.
You are very important, yes.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, hearing none. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion is carried. Thank you,
members.
Chuck, and
Thank you.
congratulations. I think I would echo Chuck's thanks to his entire team. That is a lot of work. How about a round of applause for Chuck's team? Good job, very well done. Okay, next is the new Associate of Engineering Science degree, Dr. Rothamer.
Thank you, Chair Sager, members of the board, Dr. Bornstein, and Chuck. I do want to agree with you. The action items keep getting better and better as we proceed through the items. So I would like to give you a summary of the issue of the action item 7D is the Associate in Engineering of Science degree to provide pre-engineering students with an opportunity to complete foundational courses in preparation for transfer to a baccalaureate degree program in engineering. And as we talked last month, we walked through we'll perform on different aspects and benefits of this particular program and its fiscal impact as we chatted about last month. And it's also in your packet in the action item. And based on our discussion last month, as well as the information provided, our administrative recommendation is to request approval of the Associate in Engineering of Science degree.
Questions of Russ? Okay, seeing no one has questions, we have a motion to approve the Associate in Engineering Science degree.
I would move for approval of the Associates in Engineering Science degree as presented.
Thank you.
And I would second that motion.
Thank you, Marilyn. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Associate in Engineering Science degree. Any further discussion? Okay, well, Russ, again, like we said to Chuck, thank you for all the information leading up to this. Thank you for everything in the packet and the ability to understand what we're actually doing here. I think that's awesome. I think I've talked to you before. I know a couple of students that are actually going to really benefit from this. People that are already going to mines and will be able to maybe come back and benefit from this. So I think it's a great.
Well, thank you. And like Chuck, I want to make sure we thank the people who actually do the work and the heavy lifts. And so Interim Dean Ellen Sweeter and our faculty member, Amy McFarland, and everyone within the Business and Technology Department that continues to look forward to those opportunities for our students. Thank you for everything that you do.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you. Well, if there's no other questions or discussion, I'll ask the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion is carried. Congratulations. And a big hand to Russ's team as well. Super. Okay. Next on the agenda is information items. First of all, the calendar. Jerry, you want to handle that?
Yes, thank you, Chair Oxiger. So you'll see in your packet, we have a copy of upcoming events that the board has. The main things that I wanted to cover today was just the rest of Celebration Week. So you'll see there in your packet noted in red which trustees I've gotten RSVPs for already. So I won't take the time to go through necessarily line by line, but certainly if there are any updates or changes to what's on that list, please let me know so I can get that updated on our end. Just as a note, tomorrow we've got 2 items and Trustee Wendell. Perfect. All right, I'll get you marked down for that. All right, and any other changes that anybody sees to their availability, if there's anything updated there. If you think of something after this, please just shoot me an email and I'll get it updated on my end as well. One other thing that I wanted to take care of during this item was kind of jumping ahead to item D on the list, which is the board retreat update, since it's listed here on our calendar. You'll see there it's listed TBD for all the information, but I've got some updated information for everybody. So the retreat will be a 2-day retreat, June 21st and 22nd. It will be held here on the Greeley campus in the Welcome Center. And it's going to be in the VIP conference room, which is a conference room where you all retired to your executive session at the last meeting in April. So we'll be meeting in there for both days. Facilitator Pam Fisher from ACCT will be facilitating most of both days. And then Attorney Jen Neal, who you met at the last meeting, will be facilitating part of the discussion on the second day relating to the code of conduct and that process. As far as the times, it would be 9 to 4, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. each of those days. We'll have some breakfast and other treats for you from 8:30 to 9 if you'd like to come, but we'll start right at 9 o'clock because we've got a lot to cover for you guys. So we want to take advantage of that time. And then there will, of course, be a lunch built into that as well once we get to that point. So certainly if you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay, any questions at this point? Okay, well, thank you for that, Jerry. Next is correspondence. I have one item of correspondence. Dr. Bornstein and board members, thank you for your consideration of my emeritus status. I love Ames and will miss my duties here. Your extension of emeritus is a wonderful commemoration of these great years. Thank you. Respectfully, Donna Norwood. Yeah. After 35 years. So that was nice to get that from Donna. I don't think Donna is here, is she? Okay. Thank you, Randy. Okay, next, getting items on the board meeting agenda. Jerry?
Yes, thank you, Chair Oxiger. Based on the discussion we'd had in previous meetings, kind of formulating a professional development schedule for the board, this was one of the items that we wanted to cover briefly for you guys during this information segment. So in your packet, you received policy and procedure related to this item that provides some background. The most important part will be the the procedure 40-01, section A, that initial paragraph. And that's where it describes the process of actually getting an item on the agenda. So really the bare bones of it is that with at least 14 days ahead of the meeting that you'd want to get something on the agenda, reach out to either Chair Oxiger or Dr. Bornstein, and that will get it onto the agenda for you guys. There's also another process, certainly during a meeting, if there is consensus on something, or if the board votes to put something on the next agenda, we would get it on there at that time. Short of those two things, Chair Oxiger in the agenda building process would be the vessel to get us those new items. And of course, in Diligent, you have the list of kind of our annual calendar of items that come up every year. Those items are always built into that. And we keep that updated on Diligent for you guys as well. And certainly we'll stand for any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Any questions? None? Okay. Next is the draft board code of conduct, which you should found in your packet. I hope everyone had the opportunity to read these. These will certainly come up at the retreat as well. The highlighted and the underlined items were things that Jennifer Neal had recommended. So we've included those. The ones just in red, those are items that we reached by a consensus.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Heidi. Oh, okay.
Chair Oxiger, if I could just interrupt.
Yes.
If I could ask our IT folks, if you could bring Jen up on the big screen, just in case, because I think she'll have some speaking role. So I don't know if she needs to unmute herself or what we need to go there. Sorry. Thank you, Chair Oxiger.
Oh, no, thank you. Yeah. There she is. Jen, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
There you're back. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can now. And now I see you too. So thank you for being with us today. So as I was saying, I don't know whether you heard me or not, and thank you, Jerry, for interrupting. And again, the underlined and highlighted items in red were the ones that Jen had recommended that we include in our code of conduct. The ones that are just in red and not highlighted are the ones that we reached by consensus in our discussion at the last board meeting. And the ones that are marked out are the things that we thought that should probably were either redundant or not necessarily, or were included in the conflicts of interest. So that's kind of what the highlights meant in reading through your code of conduct. So Jen, do you have any comments?
I don't. What I tried to do in the red line, and sorry, I'm losing my voice, but the biggest thing is like tying your code of conduct to your behavior, as well as highlighting where your policies already require certain things to be adhered to, and sort of tying those all together in your code of conduct. So that was the primary focus of a lot of those red lines that you'll see.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Jen is going to be joining us at the retreat. So we wanted her to be here today in case there were any questions on the code of conduct in your packet, so that Jen could help get us those addressed so we can work to finalizing the code of conduct and hopefully get this on the agenda for an action item sometime in hopefully August, after our discussion at the retreat. So are there any questions or concerns? Mark, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Jen. How you doing? Oh, long and short, can you explain the difference between a code of ethics and a code of conduct? And there's there is some redundancy from time to time. I've looked at Colorado Mountain College. They actually call it a code of conduct, not their code of ethics. And, it's 38 pages long. And so ours is 19 plus a statute on our ethics side. So in order to keep track of all of the behavior and the to-dos and the right things to do, and you always want to do the right thing, can you explain the difference of why both would be necessary?
So I guess the first answer is they're not both necessary. It is often advisable to have both. It's kind of just depends on how you want to document and sort of where you want to go for summary information. So in general, a code of ethics is more of a policy. And these are a high level, Mark, because every location, every place has slightly different philosophies on this. But in general, you'd have a code of ethics that is a pretty strict policy in regards to if you violate these things, then you're really violating a policy in regards to being on the board, for example. A code of conduct is often used to summarize those expectations in regards to how you will behave, of which it's just a given that you would follow all of the policies that are in place, including your code of ethics. But that code of conduct is something that in general, when you would have an affirmative, some type of affirmative action each year that says you will abide by this code of conduct. And that code of conduct, again, is intended generally to be a summary of all the behaviors you're expected to follow with additional detail related to those behaviors embedded in your underlying policies. That's the idea as to how they would work together. And some places will only have one or the other. So for example, there are some places that will have a code of conduct that embeds all of their policies in it. Whereas you guys have individual policies around your ethics, around communication, around all of these things that make it very clear for those pointed things that you will behave in a certain way associated with those. And it gives more detail on that. Whereas the idea behind this specific code of conduct is to summarize an overall behavioral scheme that you will abide by, that you will acknowledge on an annual basis, and that the embedded policies are underneath all of that. Does that help to explain what we're trying to do here?
Is it more than enough?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Is it more than enough?
Are you asking, are we doing too much?
Yeah.
Every place has a different philosophy. I think in general, it's a nice to have to summarize so that you immediately every single year, you would acknowledge this as a board member and say, I'm going to abide by this and this is how I'm going to conduct myself. And then when there's specific questions that arise, whether it's for ethics, whether it's for communication, whether it's for conflicts of interest, then you would go to that specific policy for more guidance.
Jen, can I interject something here? I always kind of just real simply thought of it as the code of conduct is what you should do or strive to do, and the ethics was how you should strive to do it. That's kind of how I've always looked at it. I may be right or wrong, but.
Yeah. Again, one is summarizing and one gives you the detail as to how to do it is exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else? Heidi.
Hi, Jen. I looked back at the consent agenda, and at that time, I think we discussed that you said there was 2 edits from our attorney, because I'm kind of drawing a little bit of a blank. So on our consent agenda, we said that there was 2 edits from Jennifer Neal. And then if I go back, it looks like there's more than 2 that you added, which is fine with me. So I just wanted to know if I'm missing anything, if there was more edits that we did.
Yeah, so in the prior meeting, there were 2 edits that were recommended on that draft.
Okay.
Then we discussed the relevance in between with policy versus code of conduct, et cetera. And so following that, I had agreed to go through and kind of draw the parallels and referencing to that. So like you'll see within this, the red lines, a lot of them have to do with just clarification and or drawing a line to the adhering of that kind of how as we just said, on the as to which policy that would you'd go to look to how to adhere to that.
Okay, one other quick question. Under the Board of Trustees, President's Relations, number 14, we have board members refer all constituent concerns to the president adhering to communications. Can you give me an example of a constituent concern? That's just educating myself.
So do you want me to answer that one? Sorry, or?
Dr. B says she's got an example handy.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm trying to think of a specific example because several of you have already passed on. So when you hear something from your community about, hey, I had a friend who tried to register and had a really rough time. And you say, and they know you're on the board, and you say, well, thank you, I'll pass that on. As an example, you know, it could be as sort of benign as that. It could be as serious as something else, but you know, any kind of concern that you hear.
Okay. Mark.
Okay. On item 19, I think we kept it under 20. Can you explain personal agenda?
This one, so we talked about this one quite a bit your last board meeting, Mark. So on the personal agenda, and this again, it comes back to a little bit of common sense, right? Because you may have some areas that are beneficial for the college that also are beneficial on the personal nature or that you have an interest in. But in general, the clear kind of black and white test of this is similar to, for example, let's say you, I'm trying to think of a clear cut one, but we talked about in regards to a business, right? So let's say your business would benefit from a contract with the college. You have a personal interest in that, and your personal agenda is to move that forward. And then you utilize your role as a board of trustee in order to do that. That's where you have to, there's a fine line in some cases, and you have to make sure that's clear to the other board. But this is a common sense test. If you feel like it feels off, you need to make sure the rest of the board knows about it and agrees to your behavior with it and utilizing your title as a board of trustee to further that agenda.
That would be also a conflict of interest.
Yeah. Yep. They often go hand.
Does that get covered in the ethics part of it? Because we do sign a conflict of interest where we would acknowledge any benefit, indirectly or directly.
Yes, so clear-cut conflicts of interest are addressed in the Code of Ethics. There are other ones that may not be as clearly a conflict of interest, but they may still have a personal agenda associated with them. And so that's the purpose of this language. And it's the intent of it within a code of conduct to have that language is to make sure you're just thinking about things in a common sense way to ensure that any role and anything you utilize your board of trustee title for is for the benefit of the college first and foremost.
Well, it's kind of, they're all one and the same. One thing, it's just a little bit redundant in my opinion, but that's, if you could have a conflict of interest, that would be a personal thing as well as a business thing, because it's benefiting them.
Thank you. Based on our conversation in one of the last meetings as we were going through this, from time to time, while you may have a conflict of interest that comes up, it's that personal agenda piece of it might conflict, it might not. And so it's a clarification. So I think the examples that we did in the previous meeting kind of helped me walk into where, yeah, it could benefit me personally, and that's a personal agenda piece. So I think it's beneficial to keep that in there because I think it takes it parallel instead of kind of off of it. Well, I never declared it as a conflict of interest. So.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that, Marilyn. Anyone else? Any other questions at all on the code of conduct? Okay, well, Jen, I appreciate you being here. It looks like maybe that's all the questions we have. Just keep in mind that we're going to move forward in this in the retreat. So if you could print this out and review it, or keep it handy in your packet on your computer, or however you do it. But I think it would be beneficial if we would all review this again and make sure you write down any questions or concerns you have so that we can get this covered and move forward. So
it also might be helpful if Jerry can put together our code of ethics, so we have that kind of comparatively side to side, since they do run parallel to one another. And maybe putting out Colorado Mountain Colleges as well, because there's some information there that I saw that would be potentially relevant for us to consider. They just have one code of conduct policy per se.
Dr. B.
So to tag on to what Trustee Het was just saying, obviously in the retreat packet, all of those pieces will be in there. And it sounds like we're getting pretty close to the code of conduct policy. So it may be that the majority of time may be spent on a procedure. And we have a code of ethics and a code of ethics procedure. To be quite frank, our procedure needs some work with code of ethics. So we may want to spend some time in the retreat focused on procedure.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, since I agree. It looks like we're getting very close on the code of conduct itself. So, and we're certainly going to have plenty of time. So I think that might be a great use of our time. So, okay. Any other questions, comments? All righty. Then moving forward, item 9, CEO President's Report. Dr. Bornstein.
Thank you, Chair Oxker. Dr. Russ Rothmer is going to come up and give the Executive Vice President and Chief Academic Officer highlights for the month.
Thank you, Dr. Bornstein, Chair Oxker, members of the board. I have 3 very quick highlights for you today. First, I want to start with an example of Ames partnering with the community that's kind of outside our traditional learning opportunities. And this, you've heard me talk a little bit about before, but it's a summit of the wrap up of our Tax Help Colorado and what our teams have done in that regard. So our accounting professor, Gina Jones, has wrapped up the Tax Help Colorado program for the 2021 filing season. This is the 14th year that Ames has participated in that program. This year, Gina involved 53 volunteers, including 5 concurrent enrollment high school students from Roosevelt High School in Johnstown. These volunteers logged over 2,200 hours of service, and they worked on all 3 campuses, resulting in completing 1,190 returns, 13% more completed last year, with a 98% accuracy rate. So certainly kudos to that team and the significant effort it takes to get there, and the value that it provides to our community in serving a lot of our community members. So thank you to Gina and all of those volunteers. And continuing with our theme of today, or one of our themes of today, of honoring the excellence of our students, wanted to highlight one of our students, Henry Alviso, who is currently a sophomore at Ames Community College, and he is a founder of Submission Nutrition, which started in 2019 to provide high quality food for combat athletes. So when I first said that, I'm going, I don't know what a combat athlete is, but further reading and hearing about his successes, Submission Nutrition, his company, was actually represented by Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well as mixed martial arts athletes across the United States. And what's exciting about what he's done and kind of shows you not only the quality of our students, but also of our faculty and everyone who helps our students. In March of this year, Henry represented Ames in the Colorado Munford Entrepreneurial Challenge and took first place against 4 other companies. And again, this is against universities and other individuals as well, for a cash award of $10,000. So congratulations not only to Henry, but to our departments as well. And lastly, what I would like to do is thank the entire Ames community and recognize really everyone coming together to serve our students in our community and representing what we do so well. And one of the things, we had over 100 Ames individuals that worked to represent Ames last Monday and Tuesday when we hosted 2 Higher Learning Commission reviewers to really dig into whether or not Ames is ready to offer our first Bachelor of Science degree in public safety, which we've talked about. So again, the team was very well prepared, and it was amazing to hear how they talked about Ames and really demonstrated how I believe Ames is ready to offer our first bachelor's degree. And keep your fingers crossed. I mean, we shouldn't have to do that given the work that's been done, but we should hear by August or within August on HLC's review of that activity. So again, we talked about, I think Jen mentioned it, about a village, raising, and it really took the whole Ames community, as well as our advisory committees and community members, to come together to do this work. So I wanted to thank everyone again for that work on the BAS. And that would conclude my report. Did you have any questions?
Any questions for Dr. Rothmore?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would like to ask Chuck Johnson, Vice President for Administrative Services, to come up and give us the monthly budget report and then an update on Welcome Center, naming, recognition, and probably not just Welcome Center anymore, but foundation in general as we expand into Windsor, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Bornstein. You have before you the budget report as of March 31st. A couple items of note. I mean, we continue to exceed our budget in other revenue that we've collected. And again, that is almost entirely due to the increase in royalty revenues that we're receiving on our oil and gas leases that the college owns. All the other tuition is on track. Fees, of course, continue to exceed a budget as that is contributable to the enrollment in our aviation programs. Property taxes and state appropriations, again, are all kind of timing as that money rolls in from the state and from the county. On the expenditure side, we are starting to see some more expenditures in travel professional development. I mean, that's we're finally coming out of COVID, as we all know, and travel is reassuming. And I myself attended a conference last week down in Colorado Springs for the Western Association of College and University Business Officers, commonly known as WACUBO. It's a fun name to say. And it was a conference of a little over 700 people. And the general sentiment amongst all the chief business officers across the West that they were so happy to be back in person again to have a conference. So we're starting to see more activity in our travel and professional development because of that and people attending conferences. So just a couple of quick highlights on the budget. I'll stand for any questions on the budget as presented as of March 31st.
Any questions for Chuck?
Thank you. Before I talk on the foundation, I do need to inform the board that as of last week, we were notified by our auditor that they did, in their final review of the audit, they did come across a finding that they will be reporting on. And this had to do with, as they were working through our capital construction accounts, they identified some expenditures that should have been expensed in the current year versus capitalized. And this had to do with primarily with the Artie's Borough expenditures, and they deemed those temporary expenditures. So they needed to be expensed in the year incurred instead of capitalized into the long-term project. So this was an accounting adjustment, but due to the nature of the dollar amount, $1.7 million required in the adjustment, it will show up in a finding in the audit report, the first finding in our audits in the last 5 years. We agreed with the auditor. We went back and forth, going through their analysis, but ultimately agreed with them that yes, these were expenses that should have been expensed in the current year versus capitalized into the overall project. So the accounting adjustments were made and accounting entries were made, and they'll be issuing the statements shortly. So my sad news for the day.
Any questions for Chuck on that? It's pretty benign, Chuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last item, end up on a more positive note on the foundation as we continue the work of raising money for our students. As of year to date, our fiscal year to date, we're topping almost 760,000 that has been collected. That's a combination of both the naming and recognition gifts that we received and general donations that we received from donors. In the month of April alone, we received over 42,000. We continue to have tours. We're exceeding 22 tours. Almost 230 people have toured the buildings with the foundation. We've sold 146 seats. And we've had the foundation, Kelly and her team have participated in over 50 community outreach events, i.e. where they're going out and talking to civic groups and meeting with people and talking about the fundraising opportunities that are available at Ames. And also you'll notice Kelly and her team will be present at graduation as they celebrate our students' graduation and welcome them to the alumni side of the campus and to keep in contact with them. And also our foundation board is prepping for us to teacher planning retreat on May 19th. So a couple highlights from the foundation as they continue their great work in support of students at Ames. I'll stand for any questions on any and all the above.
Just wanted to thank Kelly. Last Saturday, she came in on a Saturday day off to entertain a group of 25 from destinations unknown. They kind of get together in their lunch group, and I think we exposed the college to some more benefit potentially.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Zach McFarland, Executive Director of Marketing and Communication, would like to give us an annual update. This is the time of year on your annual board calendar that we get an update, look back of the marketing communication plan from 21-22. Zach.
Members of the board, Dr. B, it's good to be here. I haven't done this for a little while. I am going to give you an update on the marketing and communications plan. And really, I get the easy job. I get to come up and highlight quite a few people's work. And so, before I forget to do that, a lot of the work highlighted today is going to be from our communications director, Julia Smith, Taylor Brown, our social media manager, and then Kelly Agnew is highlighted here really frequently. And she's our digital marketing strategist. Just as kind of a framing point, when we think about the difference between marketing and communications, I like to think of marketing as kind of an endpoint being a sale, right? Some kind of transaction financially. So really we're thinking about the funnel, how students get to us, how they matriculate down and end up in some of the amazing programs that we have. Communications, typically, if we think about the outcome, we're looking at attitudinal change, right? So perception, that's the type of behavior that we're wanting to influence as we work through communications plans. So I've split these up into marketing and communications. Marketing is first. This is a lot of numbers. I'm sorry to do that to you. But what we're looking at here is website traffic, right? We did a website redesign. That was October of last year. That was a significant initiative. Part of that is our tracking, right? Getting a lot better at tracking. I'm going to get into some data a little bit later as well. But what we're looking at here is, 1.6 million sessions, approximately 600,000 users. And we're looking at July to April, right? So we're not done with the year yet. The second column here, what you'll start to see, and we don't have to understand all of this. What I want to show you is that we're looking at what they're doing, where they're going, right? What pages are they heading to? That starts to tell us, pages and content that we really maybe want to clean up, we want to focus on and start to see exactly what they're doing there, which is what you see in this third column. We now have code on the website where we're able to track things like who's clicking apply now buttons, who's requesting information. So we're looking at some behavioral things to say, hey, when they get to our site, they go to these pages, now they start clicking on these buttons. We're at the very beginning of this journey, but I think the benefit of that, right, is that we can start trying to adjust that behavior as we want through campaigns. Does that make sense? Right here, we have spent a lot of time focusing on digital advertising. What we see here is Google and Bing ads. I'm going to let my nerd flag fly a little bit here in a couple slides, right? But what we have spent a significant amount of time just establishing the foundation of our digital advertising. If you remember last year when I was here, we were heavily swayed toward out-of-home and outdoor advertising, and we wanted to balance that out a little bit. One of the ways we've done that is Google Bing display ads, which you'll see here in the left column, right? And then really starting our process of moving into social media advertising, which we'll see on the right side. Really enhancing our channels here in LinkedIn and social media and ensuring that where people are, that we're there to kind of meet them and tell the story of Ames. We still maintain a robust traditional marketing, right? This is an example of everywhere we've reached. And if you left here, you'll see print, you'll see out of home. Out of home is typically understood to be billboards, bus shelters, the things that we see when we drive. We're in every major newspaper in our service area. We have strategic locations in our out of home to hit, maximize our traffic. What's not shown here, we're on the radio, and we are at the very beginning of starting to move into television, right? We've pulled a lot of video assets, which we've highlighted here a couple of times. We'll be able to take those, mash them together, create a commercial, and start extending into television so we can be present everywhere where people are looking for Ames in our service area. So we still maintain a pretty robust out-of-home strategy. We're not moving all into digital. Again, just trying to right size a little bit. This is when I start seeing people gloss over around the room, I will stop this portion of the presentation, but this is the stuff that I really enjoy. We're increasing that digital presence. What we're looking at here is a search engine result page, right? So someone now has Googled Master Auto Service degree up in the top, right? Which we all know that behavior at this point in our lives. We have two ways to influence that search. Why this matters for Ames is about 80% of prospective college students, when they look for programs, this is the first place they begin. So we have to be visible here. We can be visible in two spots. There's paid spots, and then there's what's called organic spots. That's just natural organic results. We can manipulate the paid results with money, right? We have to pick the right terms. This is a very significant process where we look at the terms and start to say, what are people searching for that's relevant to us? What's going to get them to the correct degree programs that we do offer, right? And then we want to show up in paid, and then we want those organic results, right? For paid, this is a pretty significant process. And I put this up just to overwhelm you enough to know that there's really smart people working on this. This is an example of the spreadsheet they use to track our paid advertising. At this time, which we put in place over the last 4 to 5 months, post-website launch, we now have paid advertising in Google for 43 of our degree programs, right? And so, which is basically all of the terminal degree programs. We now have this active, and we're showing up in search engine result pages on our paid advertising. And they spend a lot of time looking at this. We have a consultant who's with us looking at things like click-through rates, where they're going afterward, where they're converting, and analyzing that to make sure that we show up when we need to show up and where we need to show up. Organic is really trying to work with Google's algorithm, right? They adjust an algorithm regularly, and we have to kind of, either we have to know that, or we have to have the right consultants who know exactly the changes they're making so that we can continue to rise in organic search. You'll see it right below the ads. I haven't looked at this in probably a year, but last time I looked, upper 90 percentile of clicks are on those top 2 spots, right? It was 98% last time I saw, right? 98% of people looking for a master auto service degree are going to click on one of those top 2 spots. So it's paramount to rise in the ranks and get those top 2 spots. The rest go to page 1. When's the last time you went to page 2 on any Google result? It gets a little shady, right? You feel a little icky inside when you start moving down the other pages. So once you're off page 1, you're done, right? So it's absolutely page 1. And really you want to be spots 1 or 2. So how we manipulate that, this is one way. And I'm just going to highlight this for a second. I just wanted you to see a lot of the work that's been done from the digital marketing team. One way is selecting the correct key terms, right? This is the landing page for criminal justice. You have to select the correct key terms that match your offering, right? And there's a whole lot of key terms that you have to pick from. You have to kind of do a lot of research on who's searching for what. Then you pick the terms that you're going to get the best results on. And this is one example of probably 100 things that we have to do from a marketing perspective to rise up those ranks. And that's to filter those key terms throughout all of your content, right? So green would be your primary key terms, yellow would be your secondary key terms. You can pick about 3, right? And so you filter those in all of your pages and you have to write good content. Used to be you could just stuff that page with good terms. Now you actually have to write content and give it a good try. So this is, again, now done for all of those degree programs that happen post-website launch, right? So it's a pretty impressive haul from Kelly Agnew and worth recognition. I'm real proud of the work that the digital team has done on this. This would be one where we're looking at just more sophisticated retargeting. Retargeting is when you land on a page, we now can kind of follow you around, right? So Dr. B is stressed out, wants to just relax by the campfire, by the river, push play, get that sound. Well, you're not going to do so without Ames showing you an ad in that space, right? We've had this for a while. Where we are now getting into, though, is just more sophistication, where if you've landed on an aviation page, you will be served an aviation ad. So we're able to kind of change those advertisements based right on the pages that you've landed on, and we'll follow you around with specific advertising tailored to the need that you were looking for. Where we go. We all in, right? And I've heard that a couple times today, mostly from Shannon, and I appreciate that. We changed our tagline. We looked at our branding, logos, all of that. So we've gone through the process over the last, 6 months or so, just to update all of our branding, everything from our outdoor placements to our digital ads, which is a slate of those that you'll see here. Things we're looking at, this is again from a marketing perspective, things that we're looking at doing here, some geo-targeting and then enhancing our data, and I'll show you a couple examples of both. When we look at geo-fencing, geo-targeting, I think it's pretty exciting. It's also pretty scary, right, as a human. We can do something, and we're looking at this currently, right, where we can take a little line, we can draw that around Greeley Central High School, which I've done right here, right? We can do that. And what we can do there is once we establish that boundary around that high school, right, we can then tag any phones that go into that space, right, via Google advertising. And then we can actually show them ads. Once they enter into that zone and exit, we can follow them around for a little bit of time. So if you think about the application of this is where this gets kind of exciting, in that if you look at something like Greeley Central High School, we can serve them specific ads that we think they're interested in, right? We can tailor that advertising with targeted messaging that speaks to those types of specific needs. We've had some really fascinating and interesting discussions about other places we would like to tag. Fred Brown wants to, when we're looking at how to get more automotive instructors. Well, where do automotive instructors go? Let's tag that and serve them ads, things like auto parts stores, things like that. I mean, we can get really sophisticated and nuanced here. And so it's an exciting area that now we have the opportunity to do, since we've done a lot of the hard work of kind of establishing the foundation with the website.
Just real quick, I got you on that thought. How do you, in that geographic region, connect to that individual?
It tags their device.
It tags their device.
Yep.
Does it pop up as a?
Yep. And then we're going to track them wherever they go.
Or does it?
It can be display, it could be text, it could be.
They wouldn't have their email address, would it?
No, typically people are logged into something, right? Typically Google, they'll have a Gmail account and it's going to tag that. And then it's going to recognize who that is. And when they get back on the web, right, on their personal computer and things like that, it just follows you around. It's frightening. You can say it. But we're going to do it.
Is that why I'm getting so many phone calls these days?
We haven't gotten into phone calls. I'm not a big fan of phone calls. So I don't know if we won't get that while I'm here, but Data, this is just meant to, again, overwhelm you. I don't need, you to understand all of this. It's what I'm showing you here is, again, Kelly Agnew has really been working on creating dashboards, right? Good dashboards for us to use as marketers so that when, what's important about data is that we derive insight that we can take action off of, right? So we're collecting data right now that eventually is going to start driving, action based off of insights that we get. This is an example of one of the dashboards that she's created that shows us a variety of data, again, from just general audience overviews to bounce rates, to how long people are staying on, to really, what sources here in the bottom right are we getting most of our traffic from, which then starts to justify our time and energy and expenditures. Right here, you see the top one in this time frame, right, is Google and organic searching. So now we know people are finding us via Google. Let's make sure our Google strategy is correct, right, so that we can generate more traffic. And we're taking this down to a variety of areas. Top left, you'll see here, impressions, right? We can actually see how people land on the website, what they search to land on the website, right? So once we know what they're searching to land on the website, we can do a couple things. We can increase our opportunity to go get those people. We can also disclude people if they're finding us via the wrong terms, right? If it doesn't match what we offer, we can actually start discluding them from searches and make sure that they can go find things they're looking for. Academic programs shown here on the right. We're at the very beginning of really starting to work alongside academic programs to look at all of the work we've done there and what's happening on those pages. If we're driving traffic to them, if they're applying for things, what they're actually doing on those pages, and setting up regular meetings where we can focus on good data that starts to support other decisions. Communications. Again, this is more of relationship development, looking at how we're perceived in the community. And again, Julia Smith and Taylor Brown have done a lot of work in here. It's been really interesting work over the last year, I think, as we've moved through things that we haven't encountered before. But these are just aggregate numbers. We're looking at our social media here on the right. Number of posts, how many impressions each of those posts is garnering us, or each of those mediums, right? And then how many people are engaging being likes, comments, things like that. We've received 143 chats, typically about events, programs, student and alumni stories, and we start to see, where are people interacting with us and what processes do we have in place to make sure that we're giving them good, clear insight and answers in a timely manner. So really a lot of good work happening in social. And then the news, right? We're talking print media. I know we typically focus on 15 or so articles, but the true story, right, is that we've been highlighted in the news 840 times. And this is that same time frame, July through April, right? So we're in the news a lot. And if you look at the role of stories that we're talking about, typically very positive, right? Highlighting a lot of the amazing things that Ames has to offer. So on the left there, you'll also see who's highlighting us the most. So good relationships with local papers and a lot of good work on our end of submitting press releases and getting those things highlighted. New channels, TikTok. I don't know anything about TikTok. I think there's a lot of dancing. I'm very clear I will not be doing that, but we're on TikTok now. That's a very new channel, launched two months ago, Julie, I think, about 2 months ago, right? So we're building up some followers. That's where the kids are, as they say. And so we're going to go see if we can engage them in a good medium like that. And then just increased work in current channels like Instagram, right? Making sure our content is very visual. We have done a lot of video work, a lot of photography work, making sure that we've enhanced those channels in significant ways. Next up for communications, pretty big slate. We're looking at My News. There's a lot of, especially, we see it here when we're talking. There's a lot of amazing things happening from a staff and from an employee standpoint. We have ripples and recognition. We have gem stores. We have just news and information we're trying to get. We're looking at a My News page that would pull all of this that lives in a variety of locations into one specific site, one page where people can come and engage with college communications and information in a very efficient way. We should then begin to, start to gain more traffic in some of these things that are amazing, but probably not heard as much as they should be. We're looking at an emergency communication subdomain. That would be a place right now, if you look at our COVID page, it exists on the main site and it can get convoluted with all of the navigation and all of the other things on this site. We're looking at creating a good subdomain that would exist outside of the site where we can have very easy to edit and easy to use, easy to read emergency information. So health alerts, COVID, any emergency situations we end in. We're at the beginning of looking at that. And then our view book, we've done a pretty amazing work on creating a view book, which I showed here. That is actually now translated into Spanish, as is a second publication that's a view book kind of light version, also in Spanish. We have PDFs of those. We actually want to get a little bit slicker and have some good digital experience. Alongside all of this, we just continue to take in tickets, lots of tickets. Website tickets, creative and marketing tickets, content approvals for the website. Really, we're still looking at about 9 in that same time frame, just shy of 2,000, about 10 a day that the team takes in for around the college. That's that presentation. Dr. B asked me to also give a little events highlight. What's going on with this amazing event location over in the Welcome Center? I have some cool news. If we look at phase 1, which is we wanted, no more than 2 a month after hours events, external events, until that conference in AFIT, which would be next July, I think, correct? AFIT. Here's what we heard. It's pretty crazy. Things that are already confirmed: 8 nonprofit galas, 4 high school banquets, 6 one-day conference, AFIT, and then a wedding. We have our first wedding in October. This is something that the events team, I talk to them regularly, and I think it more than justifies that building being there. They're consistently giving tours. They're consistently over there. There's a lot of interest, and they are at the point where they're asking me, hey, do we need to start saying no if it gets outside that phase 1 initiative, right? Do we have to start turning people away? And that's a very real conversation. They're also looking at a homecoming, a quinceanera. 2 nonprofits already have events that they would like to book, and 2 community events that fit that category of kind of overlapping into phase 1. So they're processing what to do with that. So a lot of pretty good work. Again, some amazing people. I would be remiss not to highlight our team. Really, really amazing people doing this work. So any questions? That was a lot. Thank you.
Trustee Wendell.
Yes, I do have a question on your, you already know this, on your website traffic dashboard, actions people took. So 23,000 people looked at it to apply now. Then it went down to 13,000 create the application. And then it went to 7.8 applications, complete the app.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice somehow to increase, we lost, I don't know, well, not 20, but 16,000. Be nice to increase those things, but the dashboard and everything you guys do is great. For me, it's very easy to read and interpret.
Cool.
You've done a good job, and I see you guys on Instagram a lot, which is great. And I think you're doing and beyond. You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I was just going to comment on how impressed I am at how our digital marketing program has changed over my over my years on this board. It's incredible. And it does help me to understand why I get so many hits on my phone when people can be tracked like that. But great job.
Phenomenal team. And I didn't mention Hunter Wilson, who has a significant part to play in there, and Anthony, our web developer. Just I'm blessed every day. I think about the people I get to work with. And to your point, how rapidly they've accomplished a lot. And that also includes a website redevelopment that was not a reskin of the website. That was a fundamental redevelopment. They work incredibly hard. They're very motivated and very smart. Much smarter than me. I just go up and look at numbers sometimes.
Great job.
No question, just comment. The brand and the all-in. I can't tell you how much I hear that in the community. It has caught fast and well. So I think you guys have done a nice job rolling it out and then also being able to appeal. So
thank you very much. That's really nice to hear.
Real quick, I do notice everything. It seems like you're all fully diversified in the last calendar year. It's just explosive. Have you connected? We haven't heard much retention numbers lately. This
A complex question with streaming, with on demand, with your general cable, local access. And I would say I'll have a better answer for you, next time we do this, because we will have, what we will do is go look at all of those options, right? And see what's best for us at Ames, what fits the budget, what fits our demographic, and which of those avenues we might want to step into and explore, right? We're at the very beginning of that. So I can't say it's, it's going to be super beneficial. We expect this until we start having those conversations. And now we have the collateral in our video content to really begin to think that through. And we'll step in, we'll wade in lightly, and see how it goes. And now we'll be able to track a lot of, success or not, and make good decisions as we move forward. So I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but yeah, I am too. Yeah, I'm curious too. It's exciting. I think everybody wants to see Ames on a commercial when you're watching the Super Bowl or something. Right? We'll have that budget approval coming through Chuck, I think, in the Super Bowl season.
Yeah, I think that's a whole nother year. Oh my gosh.
But, it's a great question, and one that I would love to give an update on here next time we talk about this stuff.
Okay, well, you did, you helped, but yeah. I guess I know I'll have to wait to hear the answer, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But I see so much on social media anymore. I get up in the morning and I fire up the computer and I sit there for 10 minutes with pop-up ads coming up and I can't stop them. And it's everything under the sun, If you could tag on to WinZip and overshadow them, I'd love it. But,
I'll talk to Kelly. We'll see.
Yeah, really. Okay. Thank you, Zach.
Any other questions? Thank you, Zach.
I appreciate it.
So Shannon McCaslin, our Dean of Students, is going to give the highlights for student engagement, inclusion, and success. She wants to focus on commencement activities. Oh, okay. We'll have Shannon come up and give the highlights for SACE.
I was getting multiple directions. Okay. I'm dressed up. I'm ready to go. But before we talk commencement, I wanted to just make sure that you all knew collectively, and for those listening on Zoom and in the audience, that the CDHE just informed us yesterday of our official designation as a hunger-free campus. And so we're going to be all over media, social media with that, aren't we, Zach? Really excited about that. So the steering team and all the folks, when we got the news yesterday, it was pretty exciting. So including Dr. B. So I wanted to be sure you all knew that. A few little housekeepings maybe, and maybe some fun by the numbers for Friday. Our 55th commencement ceremony. Wow. College has been around just 2 years longer than me. And back on campus. And I was thinking back in my 25-year time at the college, I think I'm fairly accurate, though I'd need Donna Norwood to help me out with this, or maybe Randy. I think our last time on campus with the commencement was in the late 90s, out in the grassy area below the gazebo. Am I right? Am I right back there? Okay. And so I'm really excited it's back here. You know what it's caused is just a lot of campus partners to be very, very involved. And I was thinking about the numbers around volunteers, employees who are going to be volunteering on Friday. We have 70 volunteering at noon. It's going to take that. We have 45 and still looking for a few, if you're listening and on Zoom, friends, for the 5 p.m. And I counted it up at 95 faculty members attending. And so they'll be processing and recessing with us. There's about 20 dignitaries, about 10, 12 of you on the stage. And then I wanted to think about the graduates for a minute. The graduates are ages 16 to 70. We saw the almost 16-year-olds here earlier. And we'll be commencing over 300 at noon and over 200 at 5. And then I was just looking at the degrees, if this is interesting. And so the most that we'll be giving away are certificates that students have earned. We're not giving them away. Students have earned 1,249 certificates will be awarded either via graduation or, and or at commencement. Not everybody who graduates officially actually participates in commencement. So the 380 Associate of Arts degrees, 237 Associate of Applied Science degrees, 52 Associate of Science degrees, and 14 Associate of General Studies degrees. I thought that was interesting. And so all told, there were 1,341 students eligible and who are graduating, and over 500 who are actually commencing, if that makes sense. So I thought that was fun. Here's the housekeeping. I've got parking passes for all of the board members who are going to be in the stage party. And so I'll give these to Jerry. This is for you to use when you park on the north side of the Welcome Center. That's going to be special parking and will require the red RD parking pass. And then for those of you, all of the board who are participating, in the two ceremonies, you already got this from Jerry, but just to clarify, we need you to arrive between 10:30 and 11:30, hopefully before 11:30, so that we can do the lineup and get you all ready. And when you arrive, if you don't know where the green room is backstage, ask a volunteer. We'll show a few folks, including Jerry and Megan, and make sure that that we can get you where you need to be. The afternoon one, we would want you arriving between 3:30 and 4:30. And we're going to have good refreshments to keep us all going in your green room. That's what I have. Are there questions as it relates to, what your roles are or anything about the ceremony? I'm excited. The backdrop, did you all put your heads, if you're there tomorrow and you want to put your heads in, nice job, F&O and Marcon, that created quite an amazing backdrop for the stage. And this thing has really been coming together in the last couple of weeks. We would not be doing it without the help of facilities in a big, big major way. So thanks, Mike. He's been there every time our team has been there working on all of the details. And you're gonna love it. I'm so excited. Anything? No, we just want to show up and be ready, right?
Any questions?
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. So moving on to meetings of note, you have in your packet a list of areas of interest that I've been involved in the last month. So the pictures there are pictures of the visit from U.S. Senator Hickenlooper, who actually came to NCMC to meet and talk with local students and our Ames team to hear more about the CNA banner collaboration. And that was really quite impressive, important, and quite a kudos. So I wanted just to highlight that. And we actually have several students who'll be walking across the stage with that as well. Normally I just say, are there any questions? Because each one of you has sort of different interests. Is there anything you want more information about beside that one? No. Okay. Okay. Next page is the employee report. You see new positions and then folks who are moving on. At this point in time, this is the time when I ask supervisors who have new employees to introduce to the board. If you have a supervisor, would you raise your hand? Russ? Sure.
Thank you, Dr. Bornstein. And coming up to join me, I'd like all of us to welcome Dr. Andrea. And I always add an S to this, and I have to apologize every time. It's DeCosmo. Dr. Andrea DeCosmo is our new Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs. She joined us from Front Range Community College, where she served most recently as the Dean of Instruction, oversaw allied health and nursing and learning commons and other programs. So welcome, Andrea.
Other supervisors? Okay, I'm going last. So Kathy, want to come up? Yes, come on. So Kathy Williams is going to come up and introduce herself. Kathy is our interim vice president for student engagement, inclusion, and success. She's going to tell us her last couple of positions. She's currently a consultant from Campus Works, Inc. And I'm also going to give you a little bit of plug or leeway. Trustee Hout was mentioning about the recruiting loop. You may want to chat for a couple sentences about your thoughts of how to re-engage the strategic enrollment management group.
Thank you. I'm Kathy Williams, as Dr. B said. So I come from Texas A&M University in Texarkana, Texas. I was there for 7.5 years. The last 5 years, I was the vice president for student enrollment engagement and success. Prior to that, I was the associate vice president for enrollment management. And before Texas, I worked at Montana Tech, where I was the registrar and the executive director of enrollment management. What Dr. B was referring to is we are going to be assembling a committee to review or put together a strategic enrollment management plan. It'll be co-chaired by myself and the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, and will include faculty as well as SACE personnel. And we'll put together, it'll be a strategic enrollment management plan, so it'll include recruiting and retention planning.
Thank you, Kathy. Yep. So welcome aboard. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Chair Oxford, that concludes the president's report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bornstein. Okay, next on the agenda is comments from board members. Who wants to lead it off? Heidi's volunteering. Thank you.
I get nervous, you know. Let's see, a few comments. The students, you know, of course, is the favorite, one of the favorite things about this meeting. It seems to be that Ames is a safe, supportive, engaging place for everyone to grow. and began their journey. You know, it's really nice to hear that each time. I'm excited about the bachelor degree, the engineering program, and then the aviation possibilities. And very excited that we are now a hungry-free campus. That's wonderful. Real quick, I was at the Safeway Bakery in Fort Lupton trying to get a cake for my son. And the head baker there said, "Are you with Ames?" Because I had my badge on. And I said, "Yes." He goes, "My son farms up in North Dakota, comes back every summer and takes math and through Ames to get caught up." And he said, he just loves Ames. It's very easy to register for classes. Everything transfers, the credits transfer. He could not stop talking about how wonderful Ames is for the community in Fort Lupton as well as Greeley. It was really nice to hear. And he also said something about Ames should do some type of internships for cake decorations, but I know the continuing ed is offering cake decoration classes in Fort Lupton. So I mentioned that to him. So, but every time I come here, I learn so much, and everyone is doing such a good job, and the students are succeeding. So.
Thank you, Heidi. Who's next, Gene?
I would just add how impressed I am with our students. And you said it earlier, Lyle. My favorite part is to hear from students about their success and, as Heidi just said, the welcoming feel of this campus. And that comes from all the faculty, the staff, the other students. It's a theme that runs through every level of this campus. And it's just rewarding to hear those stories.
That's it. Thank you, team. Appreciate it. Marilyn?
Again, echoing all the students, I think Andrew's message is one of those that capturing that is the essence of everything. I think as he was, doing his thank yous and the reflections. Compliments to Chuck and the team. I'm a numbers geek, watching and looking, and thank you for the preparation for those areas that are new to me. And I think the resounding feedback from this group is how well prepared and able to walk through complexity in regards to our finance. I'm excited about the programming. When I look at the aircraft, when I look at the BS program, I mean, all of the different programming of how we grow, and that continues to be relevance for the broader population. But I think even more so, it's keeping up with what's actually happening, which things are changing so quickly in our world, and we're actually keeping up with that and actually ahead of it. And I think that says a lot about the foresight that the faculty, the team has here, the cabinet, in where are we going. And so, I always take Forsberg's comment of skate to where the puck's going, not where it is. And I think we're doing a lot of that. And so nice work to the team in all aspects of that. So.
Thank you very much, Marilyn. Mark?
We're such a tipping point. We have so many things that I've witnessed over the last 6 years from our marketing strategy. Zach's taken it to a bright light future of tipping points continually, like a waterfall fully coming to fruition. The educational process with the aviation program, which was just another, Lyle and I were over there and the governor didn't know that Ames was in Larimer County, and there you go. And all of a sudden that opportunity prevails. To see the graduate reception earlier this week, that was special. I mean, those students had big, bright smiles on their face. The parents were even brighter, I think. That was just a gift as from where we sit, that's extra special. And let's see, where else can we go in this background? Oh, Chuck, we've already said enough about you. You're doing a great job, and the staff's very important. Mike, all your build outs, you're going to run out of money pretty soon, so another year or two, but that'll be great. It's nice meeting Kathy and Zach, all the people in the back. I mean, you guys, if it wasn't for you guys, the staff and everybody else, how many is there? 700 and
There's over 1,300 full part-time employees.
1,300, golly. We're so grateful to be part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for those remarks. Well, I'll certainly echo what everyone here has said. This is an incredible time. This was really an incredible meeting between our excellent Ames, which I always look forward to and appreciate, to Andrew's farewell talk, I guess, for lack of a better term. That was truly humbling, and he truly summed it up. I don't know anybody that could have done a better job. He told us, he described Ames perfectly. I was really moved. I've been to some events this week. The trio graduation. I hadn't been to a trio graduation before. I'm glad I went. It was an eye opener. It really was. And to hear the stories of the people that are graduating and through the trio program and moving on, and some of their challenges and everything that they've overcome, and it was just absolutely amazing. The coining ceremony for the veterans, to hear their stories and to know that what they've gone through, and to hear how much they appreciate Ames. But I think the thing that I hear consistently everywhere I go through all of these is the use of the word family. And they're referring to Ames when they're talking about family, and they truly feel like we are a family. And I believe that as well. We hear it described all the time. It's a special week. We have faculty, we have cabinet, we have everybody here that works so hard to educate these students is in a way at the end of a journey with 1,300 students were graduating. How many students?
How many students did you say? 500 commencing credit.
That are actually graduating. It's amazing. But yet, as Shannon described, those students are commencing. They're starting. They're just starting out on a brand new journey. And you all out there help them get there. And to hear how much they appreciate it and how much we appreciate the job you've done. So thank you. We appreciate you, and we'll be seeing you all at graduation or commencement. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is an executive session. The board will adjourn into an executive session as allowed by Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-402, parent 4, parent F. And we will adjourn to discuss personnel matters. We will not make any decisions. We will not take any votes in there except to open and adjourn. And then we will adjourn from the regular meeting, this meeting, from the executive session. So we won't be coming back in here. So we thank you for being here with us today. We thank you for all the presentations, all the information, as always. We appreciate you. So I would entertain a motion at this time to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters.
I move that we adjourn, or that we move to the executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion is carried and we will adjourn into executive session at this time.